Today, Leonard Leo's conservative Supreme Court heard a major case that could potentially undermine the government's ability to make sure the air you breathe isn't polluted, the water around you isn't full of chemicals, or that we can have any basic gun regulations. The case, at first glance, is about New Jersey fishermen, but it's actually a larger, more nefarious network of groups like Koch Industries, gun manufacturers, e-cigarette companies, and the big pharma industry who want to roll back a 40-year-old ruling that supports government regulatory power. What they really want is for the Supreme Court to reverse a 1984 decision that created something called the Chevron deference. That's a Supreme Court doctrine, which is now precedent, something this current court doesn't really care much for, where federal judges grant federal agencies latitude on how to interpret legislative statutes that are vague. Judges are supposed to follow a two-part process: examine the congressional language, and if the intent is clear, the matter is settled. If the language is ambiguous, the ruling court must defer to the agency on how the law should be carried out. That makes sense, right? The court says, let's defer to the experts on pollution, banking, or the FDA. But that's exactly why big business hates it. They don't like regulation. They don't want to put in place costly protections, because why waste money making sure you're not drinking poison when they can make more money not caring about whether you're drinking poison? And based on what we heard today, the anti-regulation argument seemed to fly with the majority of Supreme Court justices, including the man seemingly hired to kill Chevron, Justice Neil Gorsuch. Gorsuch, who's the son of Ronald Reagan's EPA administrator who worked to slash air and water quality regulations, has said that Chevron deserves a tombstone. Justices Alito, Kavanaugh, and Thomas seem to share that sentiment in arguments today. Joining me now is Elie Mystal, justice correspondent for The Nation. How'd the arguments go today?
Yeah, they were bad, Joy. To be very clear, what this case is about is power, right? Because Congress is going to write a law. There are going to be gaps because Congress is making political deals and also generally incompetent, right? So who gets to fill in the gaps? The way it is right now and the way it's been for the past 40 years, experts get to fill in the gaps. People who know things get to fill in the gaps. Science and math and facts get to fill in the gaps.
You can't have that.
What the conservatives want is to take that power away from the president, away from the executive agencies, and give it to themselves. So there will still be regulation after this case. It's just that Neil Gorsuch gets to decide how much mercury is allowed to be in the air. And John Roberts gets to decide how many people can die in a thresher mill accident before we declare it unsafe. And Brett Kavanaugh gets to decide what banking regulations really should matter. So it's really the biggest, and I've said this before, this case represents the biggest Supreme Court power grab, taking power away from the people and giving it to themselves since 1803, since Marbury v. Madison.
And the thing is, they were hired for this purpose. I want to play for you. This is Don McGahn. This is Trump's former White House counsel, saying that they actually looked for judges who would deregulate, which is why they picked Neil Gorsuch. Take a listen.
There's a major effort in the Trump administration, coherent and strategic and articulated, to try to do something about reining in the regulatory state. And Justice Gorsuch is an expert on those kinds of issues in the Chevron doctrine. Talk about that.
Well, it's not a coincidence. It's part of a larger plan, I suppose. There is a coherent plan here where actually the judicial selection and the deregulatory effort are really the flip side of the same coin.
I think what really infuriates people, including myself, is that this is not jurisprudence. This is not them finding something, looking at the Constitution and seeing what the law is. It's a setup. They want to deregulate. They wanted to get rid of abortion rights. They want to get rid of voting rights. They just want to roll back the 20th century. It feels very systematic.
So now we got to talk about Neil Gorsuch's mama.
Yeah.
Because as you pointed out, she was Reagan's head for the EPA. But was she one of these people who wanted to make the EPA succeed? No. She wanted to destroy the EPA from the inside. And this case that we're talking about was actually the government, the judges, the liberal judges, giving her leeway to destroy the EPA from the inside. But it didn't work because, see, back in 1984, conservatives thought that they were more likely to hold the presidency than the Supreme Court. Roll it forward 40 years, and Neil Gorsuch, the Nepo baby that he is continuing the family business of destroying the EPA. But he realizes that, unlike his mama, he can't be voted out.
Yeah.
His people can't be stopped, right? He has lifetime power, and this is part of the general conservative movement. They understand that judges hold lifetime power and are not subject to the whim of the people, and so destroying the regulatory state through judges is now preferable for conservatives as opposed to trying to win their arguments at the ballot box where they often fail.
I mean, this is the reason that the idea of expanding the court is starting to catch on, even with people who originally opposed it, because these guys have a political agenda. And in ending regulation other than the regulation they impose themselves, ending women's rights to an abortion, ending civil rights, just basically rolling back the entire 20th century Supreme Court jurisprudence, they're doing it so systematically that they're not stoppable if you don't expand the court.
At this point, the difference between a progressive justice and a liberal justice versus a conservative or Republican justice is that the liberals believe in facts and the conservatives believe in vibes. And they are vibing out right now. They are winning on the vibes and remaking the law back in their image of the 1950s and the 1850s.
Yeah, how long till they get to Brown v. Board or the case where it said that, segregation schools can't get tax cuts? Because that was what they were.
It's on Clarence Thomas's list. As long as you leave Jenny alone, Clarence Thomas is interested in
he's not going to mess with
case.
interracial marriage. He's going to keep that one because that's his own family. What do you think this is? Does this look like a 6-3 or 5-4? Because this is going. This is gone. Leonard Leo has bought this. He's purchased it.
This is what he bought and paid for, and this is what they're going to do. I do think it's going to be a 6-3. There's something with Roberts where he might do the thing where he overturns it without saying he's overturning it.
God.
But this is going to be bad.
Elie Mystal, thank you. Don't climb a ladder after this because if Neil Gorsuch didn't say they could be regulated, you're going to fall. Thank you very much.